At 3:17 a.m., Chicago was a black sheet of ice and lake mist, the skyline reduced to mute towers behind the tinted glass of the DeSantis penthouse. Inside, every light was on, not the warm glow of comfort, but the harsh, surgical brightness of panic. Rafael DeSantis stood in the nursery with his sleeves rolled past his wrists, a gunmetal watch slipping on skin damp with sweat. In his arms lay his daughter, Violet, 6 weeks old and smaller than she had any right to be. Her lips were tinged a faint, frightening blue, and her thin cries came in weak, stuttering bursts that made the monitors on the wall chirp like accusing birds. "Her oxygen is dropping," Dr. Kaplan said, voice clipped, eyes fixed on numbers. He was the kind of physician money bought when you didn't trust public hospitals, when you needed a doctor who understood discretion as a form of medicine. "She's burning calories just to breathe. She needs to eat, Rafa. Now." Rafael tightened his grip, careful not to crush the tiny ribs under the cotton onesie. The child's scent hit him, milk, powder, and something unbearably fragile. He had built an empire that could reroute freight on the river and votes at City Hall, yet this 6-pound life turned him into a man who could barely stand. "She won't take it," the night nurse whispered. The bottle in her hand was untouched, the formula pale and useless. "She spits it out. She gags. We've tried 3 nipples, we've tried pacing. She just—" Rafael looked at the bottle as if it had betrayed him. "Try again." "We did," Dr. Kaplan said, and the smallest edge of impatience cracked his professional mask. "She's not thriving. If she won't latch, if she won't accept the bottle, we need another option. Donor milk, a wet nurse, something." The words landed like a slap. Rafael's jaw flexed. His daughter's mother, Celeste, had died in the delivery room under the glittering lie of private care. "Hemorrhage," the report had said. "Unavoidable," the attorneys had insisted. Rafael had listened with a face of stone while he signed checks that could buy silence, while inside he had wanted to tear the world apart with his hands. Now the world was returning the favor. "A wet nurse," Rafael repeated, low and dangerous, as if the phrase itself had threatened him. Dr. Kaplan held his gaze without flinching. "Breast milk is easier for her to digest. The antibodies will help, and sometimes babies respond to warmth and scent as much as nutrition. Your daughter is fighting, but she's tired." Rafael's eyes cut to the door. 2 guards stood there in tailored black, faces empty, hands ready. Beyond them, the penthouse was a machine of staff corridors and locked service elevators. Somewhere in that machine, people cleaned his marble and polished his glass, careful never to look him directly in the eye. "Find someone," Rafael said. The head of security, Marco, hesitated. "Sir, in the city we can call a milk bank." "Too slow," Rafael snapped. "Now." Marco's gaze flicked to the nurse, to the doctor, then back to Rafael. He lowered his voice. "There is a woman on your staff, the new maid. She has a pumping bag in the service fridge. I saw it yesterday." Rafael didn't ask how Marco knew. Information was what his people breathed. "Bring her." Marco disappeared with a silent nod. 3 floors below, in the staff wing that smelled faintly of bleach and boiled coffee, Maya Hart was rinsing her hands at the utility sink, trying to scrub away the day. Her uniform dress was plain, her shoes cheap, her hair pinned into a bun that tugged at her scalp. In her locker sat a small insulated bag, and inside, hidden under ice packs, was the only thing she still produced that felt like purpose. Milk. She had told herself it was temporary, that her body would stop soon. But grief had its own stubborn biology. The loss of her baby 8 months ago had left her with a quiet, relentless ache, and with breasts that still filled at night, as if her body refused to accept the empty cradle in her rented room. Maya opened the bag, checked the bottle, and let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Enough for 1 feeding. Enough to donate tomorrow, like she'd done before, anonymously, because it was easier to give milk than to talk about why she had it. The door to the utility room opened. Marco filled the frame, broad and immovable. "Maya Hart?" Her stomach dropped. You didn't get summoned by Rafael DeSantis at 3 in the morning for something good. Yes, she managed. You're coming with me, Marco said. No explanation. No softness, just inevitability. Maya's fingers closed around the strap of her insulated bag on instinct. Is something wrong? Marco's eyes were unreadable. The boss's daughter needs to be fed. Maya froze, the words rearranging her reality. Then she followed, because in Rafael DeSantis's world, you didn't refuse an order. They moved through service corridors that hid behind mirrored walls, past silent kitchens and linen carts, until Marco keyed an elevator that didn't have buttons, only a scanner. Maya's reflection looked like a stranger in the polished steel, pale, tense, carrying a bag of milk like contraband. The doors opened onto the private level. The carpet was so thick, her footsteps vanished. At the end of the hall, a double door stood open, spilling light and the thin, frantic sound of a newborn. Inside, Dr. Kaplan turned sharply when he saw her. The nurse's eyes widened with relief and discomfort. Maya's gaze found the crib, then the man beside it. Rafael DeSantis was taller, his face cut from stone, his arms cradling a bundle as if he feared his own strength. He looked at Maya's insulated bag, then at her. His voice came out simply raw. "Feed my child," he ordered. Rafael did not say please. Men like him never did. Yet Maya heard something beneath the command, a fracture in the iron. She looked past him to the baby's face, pinched and exhausted, and the argument she had rehearsed in her head evaporated. The nurse moved toward her with a bottle warmer, then stopped, uncertain. "I'm not," Maya began, throat tight. "I'm not her mother." Dr. Kaplan's gaze sharpened. "Do you have expressed milk with you?" Maya's fingers tightened around the strap. "Yes." "Good," he said, as if that settled it. "We'll test it, warm it, and try a slow feed. She's failing to gain weight. We don't have time for pride." Pride. The word struck like a cheap insult, and Maya's face flushed. It wasn't pride, it was grief and fear, and the instinct to keep what was left of herself private. She forced her voice steady. "I need to know what you're asking me to do." Rafael stepped closer, stopping at a distance that still felt too intimate. Up close, Maya saw the fine lines of sleeplessness at his eyes, the faint stubble on his jaw, the way his hands trembled imperceptibly as he held his daughter. "You're going to feed her," he said. "If she takes it, you'll stay until she's stable." "That's not my job," Maya said before she could stop herself. One of the guards shifted, a warning in leather and muscle. Marco didn't move, but his eyes flicked to Rafael, waiting for the reaction. Rafael's voice lowered. "In this house, if my daughter needs something, it becomes your job." Maya swallowed. She could walk out, and she would be replaced by sunrise. But Violet's thin cry rasped through the room, and the sound pulled at something ancient in Maya's body. She opened the bag with shaking hands and held up the bottle. The milk was pale, almost luminous under the nursery lights. The nurse exhaled. "Thank God!" Dr. Kaplan reached for it. "I'll have the lab run a quick screen." Maya jerked the bottle back. "No!" Silence snapped tight. Rafael's eyes narrowed, predatory and offended. Maya met his stare, surprising herself with the steadiness. "That milk is mine," she said. "You can test it after she eats. If your baby needs it now, you take it now. But I'm not handing it over to be treated like evidence." For a long second, Rafael looked as if he might crush the room with his will. Then his gaze dropped to Violet. The baby's eyelids fluttered, lashes damp with tears. Rafael's throat bobbed. "Fine," he said. "Now." The nurse warmed the bottle in a bowl of hot water. Maya watched the milk turn slightly opaque as it heated, watched the tremor in her own hands ease into focus. She had fed a baby before, even if she had never gotten to keep him. Her arms remembered. "Give her to me," Maya said softly. Rafael hesitated. Power made men think they owned everything, even the right to refuse help. But exhaustion cracked him open. He shifted Violet toward Maya, careful, clumsy, as if he expected the baby to break. Maya took Violet against her chest. The child weighed almost nothing, yet the contact hit Maya like a wave. Warmth, fragility, a heartbeat. Violet's tiny fist curled into the fabric of Maya's uniform, gripping as if she already understood what was at stake. "Slow," Dr. Kaplan instructed. "Let her set the pace." Maya tipped the bottle. Violet's lips brushed the nipple, searching, then faltered. Maya adjusted the angle, coaxing gently. "It's okay," she murmured, not sure who she was speaking to. "You don't have to fight me." Violet latched. It was not dramatic. No miracle music, no cinematic gasp, just a small, desperate mouth finding what it needed and refusing to let go. Her cheeks moved in faint rhythm. The monitor's numbers shifted, stabilizing. The nursery seemed to exhale. Rafael stared as if Maya had performed witchcraft. "She's eating," he said, voice hoarse. "She was hungry," Maya replied, keeping her eyes on Violet. "But she's tired. She needs calm. Less hands, less noise." Raphael's expression tightened at the implicit criticism. Yet he didn't argue. He just watched, and Maya felt the weight of his gaze like heat on the back of her neck. When Violet finished, she didn't cry. She sagged into sleep against Maya's arm, milk-drunk and finally peaceful. Dr. Kaplan checked the monitors, then nodded once, brisk. "Better. We'll observe for an hour. If she keeps it down, we repeat in 3. The nurse reached for Violet, but Maya instinctively shifted the baby closer, protective without permission. Only when she realized what she'd done did she loosen her hold and hand Violet back. Rafael took his daughter, eyes never leaving Maya. "Name," he said. "Maya Hart." "Where did you learn to feed a newborn?" he asked, too direct, too sharp. Maya felt the old wound open. She lifted her chin. "By having one." A muscle twitched in Rafael's jaw. The room quieted around them, the staff suddenly absorbed in their tasks. "What happened?" Rafael asked. Maya's laugh was thin. "Life." Rafael stepped closer again, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "You're going to be paid," he said. "Whatever you want." Maya looked at him then, really looked. He thought money could sterilize pain. He thought payment could erase the intimacy of what he had just demanded. "I don't want your money," she said. "I want to go back to my shift." "You'll go nowhere," Rafael said. "Not tonight." Maya's pulse spiked. "Are you threatening me?" His eyes held hers, dark and unreadable. "I'm protecting my daughter," he said, "and I'm not letting the one person she accepts disappear." Maya glanced at the crib, at the doctor, at the guards. She understood then that Violet was not the only one being tested. Rafael's attention had locked onto her like a trigger, and in Chicago, attention was never free at all. The next hour blurred into a careful ritual. Violet slept in short, uneasy bursts, then woke with a thin, angry sound that made Rafael's spine go rigid. Dr. Kaplan checked her pulse, her color, the tiny rise of her chest, as if he were reading a code that could decide life or death. Maya stayed in the armchair beside the crib, hands clasped in her lap, trying not to feel the eyes on her. When Violet rooted again, the nurse lifted a warmed bottle. Violet turned her head away and began to whimper. Maya extended her hands before she could think better of it. The baby settled at the sight of her, as if recognition mattered more than hunger. "Let Maya do it," Dr. Kaplan said. "Same method, slow, quiet." Maya took Violet, cradled her close, and offered the bottle. Violet latched, drank, and finally relaxed into sleep. The monitor numbers steadied, climbing into safer ranges. The nurse let out a breath. Dr. Kaplan nodded, satisfied but not celebratory. "She's responding to you," he said to Maya. "That may be the difference between a scary night and a catastrophe. I want you here for the next feed." Maya looked from the baby to Rafael. "I can stay until sunrise," she said carefully. "After that, I need to go back to my shift." Rafael's voice was flat. "No." The single syllable carried more weight than a threat. Maya stood, forcing her shoulders back. "Mr. DeSantis, I'm staff. You don't get to keep me." Dr. Kaplan stepped in, wary of the air turning sharp. "Rafa, she needs consent and she needs rest. Stress can affect supply. If you push her, you risk the one thing working." Rafael didn't blink. "Then tell me what she wants." The question landed like a trap. Maya kept her tone even. "My phone," she said. "My bag. A written agreement for what you're asking. And no one touches my personal things." Marco, still by the door, shifted in surprise at her spine. Rafael held her gaze a long moment, then nodded once. "Fine," he said. "Marco, bring her belongings. Draft a contract. Triple her pay. Room near the nursery." "I'm not moving in," Maya said. "You are tonight," Rafael replied. "Violet eats every 3 hours. I'm not gambling her life on traffic or broken trains." Maya's jaw tightened. He made it sound logical, almost compassionate. But the truth was simple. He was used to control, and panic had sharpened it into something obsessive. Dr. Kaplan exhaled. 6 weeks, he said, addressing both of them. "We stabilize the baby, then transition gradually. This doesn't have to become permanent. But right now, consistency matters." Maya glanced at Violet's tiny face. The baby's fist opened and closed in sleep, like she was grasping for something she couldn't name. Maya felt her resolve bend, not for Rafael, but for the child. "One night," she said. "That's all I'm promising." Rafael's eyes flickered with relief he didn't allow to show fully. "Good." As dawn began to lighten the lake mist outside, the penthouse shifted from emergency to uneasy quiet. Dr. Kaplan left with instructions and a warning about fatigue. The nurse dimmed the lights. Marco returned with Maya's insulated bag, her canvas tote, and her phone. She checked the screen. 2 missed calls from her landlord, then a text from an unknown number. "You should have left Chicago when you had the chance." Maya's throat tightened. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, then stopped. If she replied, she confirmed she was reachable. She slid the phone into her pocket and forced her face still. Rafael watched her. "Problem?" "No," Maya lied. Rafael's gaze sharpened, as if he could smell dishonesty. He turned to Marco. "Lock down staff exits," he said. "I want a sweep. Phones, bags, everyone. If someone has been watching her, I want to know." Marco hesitated. "Sir, she's an employee. This is—" Rafael cut him off without raising his voice. "She is feeding my child." Marco left. Maya stared at Rafael, anger and fear mixing. "You're going to trap the whole building because of me?" "Because of Violet," Rafael said, walking to the window. "Everything is because of Violet." Maya stepped closer, careful to keep her voice low. "Then stop treating me like a suspect," she said. "I'm helping you." Rafael turned, and for the first time his control slipped enough for something raw to show through. "I don't know who you are," he said, "but my daughter trusts you, and I can't afford blind trust." "That's not a life," Maya said softly. "That's a prison." Silence stretched between them, heavy with things neither wanted to name. Violet made a small sound from the crib, and Rafael's head snapped toward her instantly, the fear reflexive. Maya broke the moment before it swallowed her. "I need to pump," she said. "If you want her fed, I need to keep producing." Rafael nodded once. "Adjoining suite," he replied. "Bathroom, clean, quiet, whatever you need." Maya went into the suite and closed the door. Through the closed door she heard Rafael speak, low and controlled. "Gideon." A man answered from somewhere nearby, voice smooth. "Yes, sir." "I want everything on Maya Hart," Rafael said. "Background, associates, addresses. If she's in danger, I want the source." "Understood," Gideon replied. Maya's breath caught. She should have expected it. In this world, help always came with an investigation. When she stepped back into the nursery, Rafael was still there, seated beside the crib, one finger resting against Violet's palm. He looked up at Maya, as if she were the only thing in the room that made sense. "Sleep," he said, softer now. "I can't," Maya admitted. Rafael stood, closing the distance without touching her. "You will," he said, "because Violet needs you steady." Maya's phone buzzed in her pocket. Another unknown text flashed on the screen. "We know where you are." Rafael read the message on Maya's screen without asking permission. His eyes moved once, then hardened, as if he'd just been given a name to kill. "Show me," he said. Maya held the phone tighter. "You don't get to—" "I do," Rafael cut in, quiet. "Because whoever sent that is inside my city, and they are speaking to you while you stand beside my daughter." She swallowed and turned the phone so he could see. "We know where you are." The words looked childish, almost stupid. The kind of threat people used when they wanted you scared more than dead. Rafael handed the phone back. "Gideon," he called. The smooth voice answered from the hall. "Yes, sir." "In my office. Now." Minutes later, Gideon stepped into the nursery like he belonged there, dressed in a dark suit, hair neat, face empty. Rafael spoke without preamble. "Trace it." Gideon accepted the phone, already working. "Burner. But the ping came off a tower on Division," he said after a moment. "Close. Too close." Maya's skin prickled. "What does that mean?" "It means someone wanted you to feel seen," Gideon replied. "They didn't have to text. They could have acted." Rafael's mouth tightened. "Move her," he said to Marco. Maya stiffened. "No." Rafael turned to her. "Maya, listen to me." "I have listened to you all night," she snapped, then instantly regretted the edge. Violet stirred in the crib, as if her anger had a sound. Maya lowered her voice. "I'm not a package you ship around." "You are feeding my child," he said, and the words were possessive in a way that made her pulse jump. "If someone is hunting you, they are hunting Violet by proximity. I will not allow that." "You don't know they're connected," Maya argued. Rafael's eyes flicked to Violet, then back. "In my world, everything connects." Gideon looked up. "Sir, there's more." Rafael's attention snapped. "Speak." Gideon's thumb moved across the screen. "This number has sent messages before. Different targets. One common thread, within a 10-mile radius of 3 properties tied to Bellini Logistics." Maya's stomach tightened. Bellini. She'd heard the name in staff whispers, in the way people said it like bad weather. Rival shipping contracts, a family that smiled for cameras and buried men in the river. Rafael's voice went flat. "Bellini's fishing." "For leverage," Gideon said, "or for sport." Maya tried to keep her breath even. "Why me?" Gideon's gaze slid to her, almost clinical. "That's what I'm about to find out." Rafael's jaw flexed. "Runner background." "I already did," Gideon said. "Basic file, born in Indiana, moved to Chicago at 19, no felony record, no known affiliations. But there's a gap. 8 months ago, your address changed twice in 1 month. Before that, you were registered at a women's shelter in Pilsen." Maya's throat closed. She hated hearing her life said out loud like a report. Rafael's voice softened a fraction, dangerous in its intimacy. "Why were you in a shelter?" Maya's hands curled into fists at her sides. "Because I left." "From who?" She lifted her chin. "From someone who didn't understand the word no." Rafael stared at her for a long, silent beat. Then he nodded once, as if storing the detail in a place he kept sharpened. "Pack what you need," he said. "You're moving upstairs. Violet's suite." Maya shook her head. "I'll take a room in the staff wing." "No," Rafael repeated, and this time it sounded like a wall. Marco cleared his throat, careful. "Sir, if it's Bellini, we should move the baby too. Lake Forest. The estate has better perimeter control." Rafael didn't look away from Maya. "Not yet," he said. "If we run, Bellini learns we're scared." Maya stared at him. "Your pride is not worth that baby." The air went cold. Gideon paused mid-scroll. Even Marco held still. Rafael's eyes narrowed. For a second, Maya thought she'd crossed a line that would cost her everything. Then Rafael exhaled through his nose, a sound like restraint. "You're right," he said at last, voice rough. "It isn't pride, it's strategy. But strategy changes." He turned to Marco. "Prep the convoy. Quietly, no lights, no sirens. We leave at 8. Maya's heart thudded. "You're taking me to an estate?" "I'm taking Violet," Rafael corrected. "You're coming because she needs you." "And if I say no?" Rafael's gaze held hers, unblinking. "Then I will still take Violet, and you will still be in danger. I would prefer you alive." By 7:30, Maya had a small duffel bag and her insulated milk cooler. She moved through the penthouse like a ghost, aware of guards at every corridor. Rafael stood over the crib, fingers resting on the railing, watching his daughter breathe as if he could force her lungs to work by will alone. Maya paused at the doorway. "You haven't slept." Rafael didn't turn. "Neither have you." She stepped inside. "You can't buy control over a baby," she said quietly. "You just keep showing up." Rafael's head tipped slightly, as if the sentence had struck a nerve. "I show up," he echoed. Maya swallowed, feeling the dangerous pull of his attention. "Yes, but you don't get to own me because you're afraid." Rafael finally looked at her. The intensity in his eyes made her feel stripped down to bone. "I don't want to own you," he said. "I want you where I can see you." Maya's breath caught. Obsession didn't start with flowers. It started with surveillance, with certainty, with a man who had never been denied anything deciding you were necessary. Before she could answer, Gideon appeared in the hall, voice tight. "Sir, we have movement. 2 men in a black van, down the service ramp. They're not ours." Rafael's body went still, predator ready. "Lock the doors," he ordered. "Marco, take the baby." Maya's blood turned to ice as Violet stirred and began to cry. Violet's cry rose into a thin wail as Marco scooped her from the crib. Rafael moved to Maya, not the door, placing his body between her and the hall. "Stay behind me," he said. Maya's hands trembled. "Give her to me." For a beat, Marco hesitated. Rafael's look cut him in half. Violet was transferred into Maya's arms, warm and frantic, her tiny fingers snagging Maya's uniform as if it were a lifeline. Maya turned so her back covered the baby and whispered, "I've got you. Breathe." A heavy slam hit the nursery door. The frame groaned. Gideon's voice snapped through Rafael's earpiece. 2 men in the staff elevator, suppressed weapons. Rafael drew a pistol from the changing table drawer with calm that didn't belong in a nursery. "Marco, panic room, now." A section of wall slid open, revealing a narrow lit passage. Marco guided Maya inside. She looked back once. Rafael stood alone in the bright room, eyes fixed on the door like he could will it to hold. "Go," he said, and the panel sealed. Sound dulled but didn't vanish. Maya heard wood crack, muted footsteps, then the tight, dry pops of suppressed shots. She pressed her lips to Violet's hair to keep herself quiet. Violet's sobs slowed against Maya's chest, soothed by warmth and steady breathing. The panel finally opened. Rafael filled it, breathing hard, knuckles scraped, a faint smear of blood on his collar that wasn't his. His eyes scanned Maya first, then Violet, as if counting them. "You're safe?" he asked. Maya nodded, throat tight. Behind him, Gideon appeared with a man pinned between 2 guards. The intruder's face was bruised, lips split, eyes frantic. When he saw Maya, his bravado collapsed. "Maya," he rasped. "Listen." Her stomach turned to ice. "Travis." Rafael's gaze snapped to her. "You know him?" Travis swallowed, eyes darting to Rafael's gun. "Bellini's people offered cash. They said she worked here, said she'd be the door. I just had to confirm." "You confirmed?" Maya said, voice flat. "You followed me again." "I needed money," he pleaded. "I didn't know there was a baby." "You always knew what I lost," Maya whispered. You just never cared. Rafael stepped closer, voice low and lethal. Bellini sent you. Travis nodded fast. I can give names, phone numbers, the meet spot. Just don't. Maya met Rafael's eyes. Don't kill him. Rafael's expression flickered, surprised. Why? Because I won't let him turn me into something uglier than I already am, Maya said. She tightened her hold on Violet. Let him live long enough to testify. Rafael looked at her for a long second, then nodded once. Gideon, deliver him to CPD. Make the Bellini link undeniable. I want subpoenas, warrants, and every camera in this city pointed at them. Gideon's mouth twitched. Yes, sir. Travis was dragged away, shouting Maya's name like it still owned her. By sunrise, 3 black SUVs slid out of the underground garage and into Chicago's gray streets. Maya sat in the back seat with Violet against her chest, the baby finally quiet, her breathing steady beneath Maya's palm. Rafael sat across from them, silent, eyes fixed on Violet, then on Maya, as if his mind couldn't decide which miracle frightened him more. Lake Forest was colder, quieter, guarded by iron gates and old oaks. The estate staff moved like shadows. Dr. Kaplan arrived that afternoon, examined Violet, then allowed himself a small smile. She's stabilizing, he said. Keep the feeds consistent, keep the room calm. Days became ritual. Violet ate, slept, woke, and ate again. Her cheeks filled out. Color returned to her lips. The monitors stopped screaming. In the spaces between feedings, Maya felt something she hadn't expected. Belonging, terrifying in its softness. Rafael's focus didn't fade with the crisis. It sharpened into attention. He asked what soothed Violet. He memorized Maya's schedule. He arranged quiet rooms, clean pumps, fresh linens, and never once told her to be grateful. He simply made the world bend, the way powerful men did, except this time the bending was in service of a baby and the woman who kept her alive. 3 weeks after the break-in, Maya found Rafael in the nursery at 2 a.m., Violet asleep on his forearm, his eyes open, fixed on the rise and fall of her chest. You're afraid she'll stop breathing, Maya said. Rafael didn't deny it. I watched her mother die, he admitted, voice rough. I couldn't stop it. I don't get another failure. Maya sat on the arm of the rocking chair, close enough to feel his heat. You can't love like it's a war plan, she said gently. You'll destroy yourself. Rafael finally looked at her, and the mask slipped. I'm already destroyed, he said. My daughter reaches for you before she reaches for me. And I don't know how to let you walk out the door. Maya's throat tightened. Then don't order me, she whispered. Ask me. Rafael's hand covered hers where it rested on the chair, warm and careful. Stay, he said. Not as staff, not as a solution. Stay as family. Maya looked down at Violet, then back at Rafael, feeling the old emptiness inside her shift, making room for something alive. Yes, she said, but on one condition. His eyes held hers. Name it. You don't own me, Maya said. You choose me, and I choose you. Every day. Rafael's thumb stroked her knuckles once, like a vow. Agreed. He leaned in slowly, giving her the space to refuse. Maya didn't. The kiss was quiet, restrained, and absolute. Violet made a small sigh in her sleep and settled deeper into Rafael's arm, as if she'd been waiting for the house to become whole. Outside, winter pressed in. Inside, their new family finally held steady.